Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Seshni, Dr. Seshni Gurikamudlia Rensberg, author of Past the CASC and from the Eastern Psych course. So this is a continuation of the series of the differences between the online CASC exam versus the face-to-face exam, which will be in September in Sheffield. So I wanted to talk about new stations. So yes, when new stations are introduced, whether it's online, whether it's face-to-face, you're obviously going to be there looking at new instructions you've never seen before, a scenario you've never seen. But I do feel the impact on the online versus the in-person face-to-face is a little bit more significant. And maybe it's biased because I was in the normal face-to-face exams, and I know that when we prepared, and if we had prepared and there was a suggestion that there might be a new station, then it was always a bit anxiety provoking. So, and I think just standing in front of the cubicle, the instructions mounted on the cubicle, and you're reading the instructions and it's a new scenario. So I do feel there is a significant difference, but there are ways to manage it. So the video is about how to manage those new stations, any station that you've not seen before, and what do you do. So I think firstly you need to understand that the college will or may introduce some new stations, and they have done that throughout all the exams. So they did it during the online exams from September 2020 until May 2023. There have been a significant number of new stations. So do have a look in my updated CASC book, Past the CASC, the 8th edition, with all the stations up until May 2023. And prior to that, as I said, when I prepared for the face-to-face exam and when other doctors prepared, we were always preparing that there could be a new station, and the college did introduce new stations. So sometimes it's pilot stations, so you may hear pilot stations that are going around, or new stations in the sense that they've not come out for years, and then the college starts bringing them in. So they did do that in the last two exams. They brought in somatoform pain disorder, which is in my book, which has been in my book for all these editions that I've done. And they also brought in the temporal lobe epilepsy. I know that many candidates who had read my book and went in that exam, and they got the temporal lobe at an advantage. So some of the materials might not be up to date, but my book definitely has all this possible stations. So it's worth it getting my book and going through all the possible stations. But in terms of a new station, I think, how do you manage that? So you'll be standing there looking at the instructions, reading it, and then it's a new station. So I think firstly is you need to understand that you've been preparing for the exam and that you've been managing most stations. So try and stick to a structure and stick to the task. So find out what the task is, write that down, and then try and formulate how you would approach the station. And a lot of the times, to be honest, new stations, most people ended up passing those stations for some reason. So yes, I think like some of the newer ones have been more complex. I think the college, some of the newer stations seems to be a mixture of psychiatric with physical health, and very similar to some of the Irish exam stations. So it seems to be a mixture and more complex stations, which from what I've seen in recent exams, so certainly in the last 3 or 4 exams, I think that's been the case. So it's difficult to gauge whether the college will incorporate still similar stations, or whether these were just pilot ones, or whether the college is obviously going to bring in newer stations, pilots that they've had, which they've obviously been preparing for, because they've been preparing to go back to this exams, I'm sure. So whilst the online exams has been very successful and helpful for lots of candidates, Obviously, ideally, the exam has always been conducted face to face. So it was about time that they went back to the face to face exams. So yes, I do think that managing those stations will not be difficult. You just need to think about, all your training and all your practice and how you've managed stations, and then try and incorporate it into that station. And whilst it might be a new station, or it might be something similar to other stations. So it might be like a similar theme, but a different way in which the college has obviously presented it. So I think my point is, manage your anxieties in front of that station, take deep breaths, and just trust and know that you will manage those stations. And from experience, a lot of people pass those stations. Some people do find it difficult, and I think it's possibly the anxiety that gets a better view in those stations. So that's why having the foreknowledge and listening to this video is going to help you, because you'll have that advantage where, if you do get a station, you remember, yes, she did say there's possibility you might get a new station, but this is how you should approach it. So I would say, if you can think of any other tips that you could provide, for a new station, by all means do share some comments on this video, and do like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you are up to date with all the information. And I hope you found this video useful, because I know it's going to help you. So thank you very much for listening to my YouTube channel.